holidays to everybody out there.
Hey there.
I am Javon.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Peter.
And we're having a discussion right now, everybody. Out of the movies that you all love, in particular, you've got A Christmas Story, you've got good old Chevy Chase and Christmas Vacation, and last but not least, you have the first, Macaulay Culkin and Home Alone. Where would they fit in a best of three setting? I'm gonna get a little bit more comfortable, guys. If you'll give me a second, I got on my Christmas socks right now, but I think for something like this, I'm gonna have to go with the old school. Had to go with the Blockbuster Video. You did.
Hey, taking it way back.
Yes. So I believe we should start with maybe A Christmas Story. This was a 1983 film. Now it cost $4 million to make, and it grossed I think 20.6 million. To list the pros, I'll start it off. I think the storytelling was a device that was genius. I think that the narration, voiceover can be considered lazy, especially later on down the line when you don't have a real story to tell. But this was good because it gave you two different ways of watching the movie. I know when I was young and checked it out, and you all probably felt the same, I didn't get all of those adult nuances that were sprinkled in with the way that it was being narrated. So when I came back to it being older, I could appreciate the things that I loved when I was a kid and understand the meaning of some of the ways that that the narrator was thinking, and the way that he kind of mixed in those little gems for you to kind of pick up on once you had gotten of age. So that's one of the things, the storytelling, that really sticks out with me.
The storytelling, it worked for this movie. For A Christmas Story, it just kind of reminds me of that time period when it came out. So it's kind of like nostalgia. Although the things that happened never happened to me at all. But just watching the movie, this kind of reminds me of that time period when it was released. So I think that's the biggest thing on my mind, the reason why I do enjoy it.
It's funny, Javon, that you said it. I didn't know that movie came out in '83. Yeah, I didn't know that. When I first watched that movie, probably was because I was born in '82, so obviously I don't remember any early thoughts from that movie being that young. But like in the early '90s is probably when I first caught wind of that movie. That movie was great, man. Everybody has seen that movie probably at least a dozen times. That's like an American, in my opinion, maybe an American iconic movie.
Yes.
But like Kevin said, it was one of the things where, even though, some of that, a lot of the stuff didn't happen to me, I'm glad it didn't happen to anybody else. It was great. But right. I think that maybe everybody could find something to maybe relate about the movie. Maybe, to the fact that your father maybe is a little obsessed with something, or your mom's made you put something on that was horrible. You know what I mean? It made you whatever, or something like that. But I think it was the pros of that movie was probably, you could, if you think about it, maybe relate, to some of those crazy scenes in that movie. For me, maybe, for everybody, maybe it was the bullying. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody has faced some type of bullying in their life, whether it be in school or whether you were an adult, you know what I mean? But definitely it was, that's some of the pros about that movie.
One of the things that also caught me was it's almost a kid's fulfillment dream, for lack of a better word. We've all had that one Christmas gift that we wanted, that you would be good all year if it meant that mom or pops would put that thing under the tree. and I actually got my first BB gun just like he did for Christmas. So mine didn't have a compass on the stock and a thing which told time and all of that, but it's so nostalgic, and it's also such a classic that you all remember how either New Year's, I mean Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, there was like a channel or several channels that would play the movie continuously for 24 hours back to back to back to back to back. Right. And I can't think of any other movie that's had that type of treatment. And I think that my brother-in-law, who brought this idea to us about this, putting these three movies into perspective, but I think that he said that he saw that they're already starting to do it this year with this movie. So once again, that's one thing that I've never seen with any other film, and for them to do it every year around this time means that it's stood the test of time,
Right. Yeah, I mean, there were things, like I said, yeah, I mean, I agree, Peter, about the bullying thing, about just getting along with folks your age, and you don't all see eye to eye. Them daring each other to do crazy stuff, like dude getting his tongue stuck on the pole.
Yeah,
I mean, that does remind me of similar things, maybe not at Christmas time, but just how it is being young. Everybody's a little silly. I just, like I said, that kind of reminds me of when I went to school, when I was in school in the 80s. So maybe not necessarily things that happened to me, but some of that, yeah, I do it kind of takes me back to that time period.
I looked at that movie when obviously we were younger. So one of the scenes in the movie that was, I guess memorable was the what was it, the lamp. With the leg.
The leg lamp.
Yeah, I was talking
about
the leg lamp.
Yes.
I remember being young and like, I want that lamp.
Me too.
It was crazy because you could, I know it's, whatever, but you could actually not that specific lamp, but you can actually get lamps that are like memorabilia. Like
I have one. Yep, I have one. It's about this big, and it's like a nightlight. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, stuff like that, man. I don't know. It was just, for me, seeing scenes like that was, I don't want to say iconic, but they stick in your brain,
Certainly.
I mean, as a youngster, you look, you see that, and you remember the bunny suit, you know what I mean, and the dog debacle, you know what I mean, when it came through, and
the bumpers as hounds.
Oh my god, that was crazy. But
yes,
classic movie though. I will say classic movie. Yes.
One of the things that was also big about it was how trend-setting it was. It not only gave way, I believe, to the Wonder Years, with that way of an older person looking back on their childhood and narrating it, so that you get two levels of perspective. And also one of the movies that's been in my top 10 movies of all time for as long as I can remember, Stand By Me.
Hey, classic.
With that storytelling arc, the man is actually sitting down writing a book on everything that happened when he was, I think, 12 years old. So it's him and his friends and everything that they were getting into, everything that they learned coming up, and just that whole coming of age type of tale. One more thing is I value the fact of how it became a story in some regards of a boy and his father. Because Ralphie at one time tried to help his dad with fixing the flat tire, which came with one of the big quotes, "Old fudge." Also, like you said, with the leg lamp, with Ralphie coming up and rubbing up on it, and the fact of now the house is split between the two older men and how they feel about it, and then the youngest son and the mom. And so that was just something else that they shared. Another thing was, as you said, with the bunny pajamas, his dad was the one who said, you don't want to wear that weird looking thing, do you? Go ahead and take it off. And the mom was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, he'll put it back on when they come over to see that he's wearing it or whatever. And the final thing is, the dad owned one of those guns when he was younger. And so he was the one, without his wife's knowledge, to go and purchase it and then hide it around the corner. So that when Ralphie looks sad and he's like, I guess I'm not going to be able to get what I wanted, his dad's like, what's that over there in the corner?
Right.
And then and you can see the smile on his dad's face when he is putting the BBs in it and all that, getting excited. And when the mom looks like, did you really get that? He's like, I had one of those when I was a kid. It's harmless, Which he kind of wound up shooting his eye out, but that's a story for another day. One thing is, I thought that it puts things into perspective. The time period was supposed to be 1940.
Right.
We found this out because of the secret decoder pin that he received in the mail, with it saying "made in 1940" on the side of it, where he locked himself in the bathroom and was, doing a little combination or whatever. I believe that this Christmas stuck out so much for him and his family because around that time, going into next year, was the start of World War II.
Oh, wow.
So this was one of the last times that he could be a child and be innocent and have the whole family dynamic the way that it was before. Everything with what was going on in the rest of the world played a part in how they lived and how they, took care, how they went on from that point on. Mm-hmm. So that's one little thing that when you do your research about it, you find out that that I'm sure that played some part into him wanting to so-called tell that story at that time. Because it says something in the beginning about that Christmas being so memorable, and then I guess you could tell that was almost like the turn of the tide, kind of, because I guess what happened after that could have been so controversial or whatever. But yeah, all in all, it's one that we watch faithfully. We usually watch it like when we're putting up the tree and decorating, and it's either this one or Christmas Vacation, or both some years, that we make sure that we put in and sit down and watch, almost faithfully. As far as the cons go, Kev, if you have any to start us off with, what are some of the things about The Christmas Story that fall short, kind of?
Well, I will say that it's the kind of movie that I feel wouldn't be made today. I think it wouldn't have been made like 15 years ago. Namely, especially the part with the leg lamp. I mean, there's an element of, I think, even though the person in favor of the leg lamp was the father, I think there's an element of like boys will be boys that is kind of like throughout the movie, and the dad kind of represents that. And I feel that wouldn't be happening today, or if somebody were to do it, it would be look how things were back then, and look how much better they are now. True. How different we feel about, like women, or the whole dad drooling after someone who's not his wife. That's kind of thing that I think would not be portrayed in a movie today, even if it were like something where it's obviously a comedy. I just think that would be kind of reworked. So I think that's more in terms of the movie maybe not aging well, but not being. That's how I would feel. It would be something like that. It would, if that kind of thing were to be addressed, it would be done in kind of a different way. But I know that made it that was a fun part of the movie. But I just know that you're not gonna see it next week on TBS,
right?
You're not gonna do it. So that's kind of all I really had to say about a con. Just there are some things where you would tell the story again today, there would be changes named around that kind of thing. Even though that was a classic part of the movie, and the movie would not be the same without it.
Exactly.
You just have to, if you were going to do it again, you'd have to think, what are we gonna say this time around to get the same kind of idea or kind of tone across.
Great observations of the film.
I'm going to piggyback off of what Kevin said. I'm going to take it in. I'm going to take it in a direction where, I'm gonna just say it was no diversity in the movie. I understand. I know part of me, my Caucasian listeners, part of me, but let me just explain what I'm talking about.
Lay it out.
It's obviously that this movie is about this guy's experiences as a kid.
Right.
Unfortunately, he grew up in an era where it was very segregated still. You know what I mean? So when I look at the movie, I don't see really anybody else Yeah, I mean, even and I don't want to, and I hate, all the PC stuff, you know what I mean? Coming, because sometimes I think people do they get too sensitive on things, you know what I mean? But to piggyback off of what Kevin was saying about, it couldn't really be made today. It really couldn't have been made today. The way it is, as far as how, certain things transpired in the movie, like I think that was toward the end when they went to the Asian restaurant. And they were, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my goodness!
That definitely wouldn't have been.
Right. That was very insensitive. It was. You had to take the humor out of it, but as you get older, it's like I shouldn't have been laughing at that.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hate to keep it. Like I said, I hate. It's always got to be about race. But I mean, for people that were minorities, as they say. You can only sit from the sidelines and watch. You was never in the game, So
that's true.
Some things you're gonna look at is it is about race,
Yeah,
I mean? So this particular film, even though I say I would let my kids watch the film with me there, you know what I mean, to experience like what I did as a child. But you got to have guidance and say, but what's considered, what was considered not fair back then, and what it is today. But that was one of the things in the movie that I did see that was like, you know what I mean? That you come on, man, you can't have that. And it's just like even him at school, you know what I mean? Like I think maybe not nobody had any parts, but I thought that I saw one black kid in the class.
It was two. It was one black boy and it was one black girl. But like you said, they kind of cheated because they shouldn't have even been in that school. It was segregated in 1940. And this is supposed to be Indiana, so
Yeah. Okay. So
So they just sprinkled two of us just to say, all right, now settle down. We got everybody.
Right.
No,
I think if they did do it today, it would probably, obviously, I want to say it would be more diverse, but I think to have maybe, like a minority family spin out on that. But have it like. Maybe during, I don't know, have it like maybe during the 80s when it was made versus, how it is set, in the 80s and he was, or in the 1940s and he was, it came out in the 80s. So he was an older man telling the story. But
exactly,
that's like the only thing, I mean, in my opinion, that would probably, I got a question though. And it's like when I watched this movie, and it probably, you guys are probably going to say, well, it was the mall, Macy's. But what was it there when he went to the mall? that the Wizard of Oz characters. I was like, what does that got to do with Christmas?
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, but I guess it was because wasn't it in Macy's or like maybe I'm getting, I don't know. But it was maybe because it was just in the mall and like, I don't know.
Or did it come out at the same time or did it come out around Christmas?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, because not only did he see his teacher as the Wicked Witch, but then the Wicked Witch was there. Then the rest of them were there, and the dad even kind of skipped around with them for a minute. While they were walking around looking for Santa or whatever. It's a good question, and I wonder what made them chose to take that route. It added color to it, but it was still like, okay, why does the Wizard of Oz keep showing up? Maybe it was because it might have been the only other cinematic kind of thing in 1940 around that time, or was the biggest thing. Possibly, just like now, if you like you said, if you put it in the 80s, it might have been like Star Wars or something like that.
That's relatable at that time, like you said. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
40, so yes,
that's a good point. It's funny how the movie and all is so polarizing because some of the older generations just would pass it off as being boring. And us, we know it beat for beat because we've seen it a million times and we grew up with it and everything. But I can kind of step back from it and kind of remove that bias and see times where if you don't know what the next beats of the story are, it seems so dated that you may be looking for something to jump out at the screen or something to be so loud and boisterous and big parades and family coming over and everything, and it's a more quiet kind of subdued movie. So I like I said, I've heard some people, it's polarizing. Some people love it and some people hate it. One other thing, and I'll let you see if there's if there's anything else you think, Kev. I noticed in watching it recently that there's absolutely no lesson to be learned, which is one thing that I would almost say is a staple in just about any holiday movie. Ralphie is pretty much the same person that he was in the beginning as he was in the end. His dad is still cursing a lot and still, you know, a man's man if that's what he's supposed to be. And by the way, the mother, I really appreciated her role because she know how to speak like Randy. You know, she understood the way that he thought, with helping him eat and everything at the table. She was, you know, caring when she needed to be. She was stern when she needed to be. She was multi-layered, and I appreciate them writing that type of character in. But again, I say it's weird because it's one of those few movies that seems like for a holiday movie, it didn't have a lesson to give. And so I wonder, you know, if that was something that they just said every movie doesn't have to have it, or, you know, it's just looking a day in these people's lives, a few days in their lives, and that's not that important. I just wondered.
Well, I agree that it probably is just the kind of movie where, you know, it's just a guy talking about his life, and maybe that's why there were no lessons to be learned. I mean, it is a contrast because, yeah, often when you think of Christmas movies today, there is some sort of lesson somewhere.
Yeah.
I guess depending on what channel you see it on, like if it's the Hallmark Channel, then there you go.
Oh gosh.
You know, so we
started.
probably do have an expectation that a holiday movie will have some sort of holiday message. When maybe the message of this one, maybe there wasn't a message at all. Maybe it was just this is a holiday that I remember.
Yeah.
Come laugh
That's
with
a
me.
good point. I'll take that.
Maybe that's what it was.
I'll take that. One more thing, question for both of you. I wonder if this was a case of the unreliable narrator. I found it a little bit weird that after Ralphie being so tender and lovable and quiet-natured, that when the bullies pushed him that far into the corner, he wound up beating up two guys at the same time and like bloodying the main guy and all while he's cursing and doing all. So I wonder if maybe some of the things sprinkled out in the story you kind of have to enjoy and listen. I won't say with a grain of salt because it's all a comedy and it's all, you know, you're not supposed to be thinking that much into it. But I don't think that little Ralphie beat up. I think looking back on the story and the way he would want to tell it to the masses, if this were in any way true, he would elaborate and make it seem like, you know, he beat everyone up that day in the schoolyard and had to get pulled off and all that stuff. I just thought that was funny. But that's pretty much all that I can think as far as negatives with the film. We've got 1989's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And Kev, I believe that you may have seen this one recently, maybe more recent than us. If you'll start off real quick, it cost $25 million to make, and it grossed $72.9 million. Right. Wow. Yeah.
That was what year was that?
1989.
Wow. It was 89 that was making that like that? That's crazy.
Right.
Crazy.
Right. Yes. And I believe they were saying something like it was the number 2 movie in the box office. And it was only beat out by Back to the Future 2 that year.
Okay.
All okay. Right. John Hughes wrote the script. And as I was saying, Kev, what was your overall about the good qualities of Christmas Vacation?
So that was the one National Lampoon movie that I didn't see when it came closer. When it came out.
Okay.
I saw it very recently. I kind of wish I had seen it earlier. I felt I would have appreciated it more. But I mean, it's an older movie, so that I kind of feel is common to all 3 of these movies. Where I think you mentioned what we were talking about with the last movie that there's like, let's see. There's like a pacing that one would expect, I guess, of any movie nowadays, where something's always happening. And these movies do tell a story, and so it's not that kind of thing. So that's something that I noticed when I saw this, because I saw it very recently. But I just didn't roll with it. But what I did like about it was, I mean, it's Chevy Chase. It's funny. Just all these crazy, wacky adventures that he's getting into with just his family, which is what happened in the other National Lampoon movies. So that humor was there throughout, even though it's slower than what one might expect of a comedy movie nowadays.
Sure.
But it was still really funny. So that's the thing I most appreciated about it.
Oh man, this movie is probably like top tier. It was this for me was either between this one or like Ernest Saves Christmas or something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah, another good one.
But Chevy, I mean, you can't go wrong with Chevy Chase. I mean, when he made this movie, he was I want to say he was in his prime or his peak as far as an actor. I mean, it was a stamp. Chevy Chase movie is going to make a lot of money. So just like Kev said, I mean, he was just that guy.
Right. He was a man.
But this one, okay, so this movie here was definitely relatable. Because it had elements there that you could relate to, because if maybe your pops was one of the type of dudes who like really didn't know, but like he front like he know.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, don't worry about it, honey. You know what I mean? It's one of the type
right.
of things.
Right.
And then you always have maybe one of those relatives that you did not want to come set foot around your crib at that time.
Yes.
So, I don't know. Another. It's got to be another pro with this movie is just relatability. Like, yes, I get it, and it's funny.
Yes.
So I'm gonna enjoy the movie.
Yes, it's the only one out of the three that's told from an adult's perspective.
Yeah.
So we get a chance to see, like you say, family gatherings, uninvited guests, all the planning and prep work that goes into having something like that at your house, seeing it unfold, you trying to make the person who used to do it for you proud and not living up to it.
Right.
But then you've got Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo. And their chemistry has gotten better and had gotten better over the years. It didn't matter who the kids were, as long as you kept the mom and dad the same, they still had that glue. You bring in cousin Eddie, Randy Quaid.
Oh, man.
I think out of these three movies, to have a character who's not paramount to the plot come in and almost steal every single scene. To the point
Randy
that they
Quaid
did.
Show.
That's right. To the point that they did a horrible sequel called National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation Part 2, Christmas on an Island, or something crazy like that, where they didn't have Chevy Chase or Beverly D'Angelo. I didn't watch it. Don't worry, people. I didn't watch it, but I heard it was like disgusting.
All right.
But one big thing about it was Chris Columbus, who directed Home Alone, was supposed to direct this. And he had so much trouble with Chevy Chase and them going back and forth that he decided to quit the movie. And he was
some controversy.
Yeah, I mean, Chevy Chase seemed to have had that problem with a lot of the people that he worked with, even though he wouldn't seem that way on the surface. He was a pain to deal with, like behind the camera.
Oh, wow.
And so,
I did not know that.
Right. And so since John Hughes had written the movie, John Hughes was also working on a project that was later going to be Home Alone. So when he found out that Chris wasn't going to direct it anymore, he gave Chris that story and said, see what you can come up with this. And so in some weird way, this movie almost birthed Home Alone.
Okay.
Because John Hughes handpicked the director to say, "Who I know that you don't like dealing with Chevy. Come over here and deal with this new, this new idea and this new thing that I've written." And it turned into as good as it did. So it's funny how things work out like that. One more thing, Aunt Bethany, the I believe grandma or great grandma, the one who came, Mike and Mike, I pledge allegiance to the flag. She is actually, let me say her name right, May Questel, I think, in real life. She was the original voice of Betty Boop.
Get out,
okay.
out of here.
Yep. So just a little, just a little something to sprinkle on you all.
Drop
Right.
That tree. That was great. Because I mean, that's a personal level. Like, I love, like growing up, my parents got, every year we would get a real tree. So like the
cool,
smell of pine and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like going with, pops to get it, and it was all of
Yes.
that. So when he cut that tree and that sucker fell out, I was like, oh man,
and the roots and everything. Oh man. He's like, all right, who's got the chainsaw? And they all look at each other, and then what's rolling on the back of the truck with the roots on it.
That was crazy.
That's a Chevy Chase moment right there.
Yeah.
How about that soundtrack with Mavis Staple at the beginning? Hip hip hooray for Christmas vacation. Doom doom doom. Christmas time is here. Yeah, so fun.
Yeah.
Ching-a-ling, ching-a-ling. Man,
Yeah.
that and Bing Crosby's Mickey Kalicki Mako is a wise and the last one, my sister and brother-in-law and myself used to rewind this scene so much when Chevy Chase was locked upstairs in the attic.
Oh, there it is.
And while he's watching the whole movie, which gave you the reason that he was going so hard with trying to get this Christmas together, because his dad used to do the same thing. In the background is Ray Charles's song, Christmas is the time of year for being with the ones we love, having so much joy and cheer. What a wonderful feeling.
Sing it.
Whoa! Man, every time we hear that, it takes us back, man. But like I said, I think that it's one of the best, if not the best, of that 5-part series, because they did the original one, they did Europe, they did this one, they did Vegas, and then they did this newer, I won't say remake because Chevy Chase was in it, but it was just called what was it called? National Lampoon's Vacation, I think. Okay. But it was it was in the 2000s, and it was supposed to be Rusty when he grown up. Him and his family, and taking them on a trip. Yeah, taking them on a trip, and along the way they went back and saw his dad, Beverly, Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo. But I
see that one.
Yeah, I own that one. If you get a chance, it had some laughs in it. It definitely had some laughs in it. I guess Kev, if you want to, we're gonna go on and roll it to you. Hit him with the bowling ball.
So I think like I said, there's humor throughout. It's funny all the way through. But this movie, again, this may be a function of when I finally saw it.
Okay.
I feel like this movie, it felt to me like a series of comedy sketches strung together. I mean, Chevy Chase, so okay, right?
Yeah.
There you go, comedy sketches. But that's what it seemed like to me. And it's not fully like this the different. Well, really, it seemed like a series of sketches. I think they flowed into each other well.
Yeah.
But that was my impression of the way the plot went down. Okay. But this is another movie that I feel there are specific scenes that, of course, probably wouldn't be done today. Like the scene when, he was a Chevy Chase character when he's in the mall and he's talking to the woman with a low cut top.
Yes.
And her body is distracting him, and he can't even get his words out right. And he's saying all these puns. Like I think the pun thing probably wouldn't be done today anyway, because
that's just
the thing you don't see that a lot nowadays. People making a series of puns, unless it's something like Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, right.
That wouldn't be happening today. Especially, it's kind of like where he went with it. And I guess this was funny, but as he was continuing to talk, and I did get the sense that he was trying to get out of this situation without leaving the place. And
he was digging himself deeper.
And he was getting deeper. And then he's talking about, my wife, and she died. And and then he's like, well, no, I'm about to divorce her. And it's like, he's just digging himself deeper and deeper. He was like, bruh, pump the brakes.
And then his son comes up and says, hey, Dad. He said, hey, Rusty.
Yeah, I feel that scene would not be done the way it was done. Man. And like I said, it was funny, but that's not happening today. And,
real quick, then it literally turned into him daydreaming later in the movie about the same woman.
Yeah, it's like,
it's like,
and so that brings me back to, like, I noticed about, like, so you mentioned before, Javon, about the chemistry between him and his wife. You get this feel, you get the sense that she's in this for the long haul, and that is admirable. She's by his side, but at times she felt like a doormat. But I don't know. Maybe part of it is just because it's Chevy Chase being zany Chevy Chase, and the rest of the movie is the straight man until Eddie shows up.
That's true.
So maybe that's more of what was really happening. That he's the center of all the humor. He's funny. No one else is funny like him.
Yeah.
So everybody else kind of pales in comparison. But I just remember in the beginning of the movie, she was just like, she just seemed like just putting up with his mess. And maybe that's what people do. I mean, I'm barely 6 months into my marriage. Who knows?
Right.
These characters have been in it for a while. They got 2 kids. They've been in it. So maybe that's just a thing that happens.
Yeah.
Where everything doesn't make you roll your eyes. Everything doesn't make you blow up.
Yeah, you're used to it. You're used to it.
But that's kind of what I noticed, especially around the time when he was, falling deep up into this woman who wasn't dressed right.
Right.
Like,
right. Yeah.
Come back. So that's kind of just what I noticed. But see, the whole sketch-like thing meant this movie, even though I was talking about pacing, this movie kept going. I don't think it dragged at all because there were this string of moments where something funny is happening, and now we just got to find out where it's coming from or where it's going. And that happened all the way through the end, even to the point when we finally deal with the whole sewage getting lit on fire, and then the SWAT team comes in. All of that stuff, all of these moments did not feel wasted to me. It felt like, oh wow, what's this next funny moment? Ooh, what's the next funny moment? What's the next funny moment? That's kind of how it felt to me. So if there were a negative, I would say I kind of don't know what my problem with that is, but it is just something that I noticed. And again, it's Chevy Chase, comedy sketches, okay.
Yeah,
so
that's what
he
does.
A bad thing, but it felt like a bunch of funny moments that happened to have a plot. So that's how I feel.
Good point.
Man.
He killed it.
He killed his joint because until he said something about, like, as far as like his, I mean, but you like what he said about the whole wife thing. Clark stayed doing that though in all of these movies.
That's
like,
true.
Like in all national, like he did it with Christy Brinkley. And,
there
you go.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it became a running joke.
Right, but I will say she did get back into Vegas when she got whirlwinded by
what's his name?
The singing Carlton's boy.
Yeah.
What is his name?
Gosh, what's his name? It's not unusual by anyone.
So she got her get back, in that movie. But
she did.
So I mean, to piggyback on what Kevin said, I mean, he stayed playing his wife, playing his wife, but for like a lesser, which was, Kevin's, definitely that I don't think that would have, like today, like I said, it's just more sensitivity, you know what I mean, when writing the script, and especially if this was a family oriented, which it is, So other than that, I want to say I really don't have any like profound negativity upon this movie. That's pretty much it. Like, just to piggyback off what Kevin said, as far as she did put up with a lot of crap that he did.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, the language was funny because it was a lot of times that he let go. Especially at the end when he was cussing about his boss and the raise and everything. He's piling one onto the other. Then he's like, hallelujah, holy acid. And he's like, Where's the Tylenol? Man, and see, that lets you know that Chevy might have been the only person that could do this way.
Mm.
It married his talents perfectly. That snow sledding thing, though, on top of the dish. Oh gosh, that thing falls flat on his face every time I see it. And it's supposed to be funny because he's going down the hill so fast because, you know. And another thing is, this is one of the only movies of the three that it really tells you what the father of the family does for a living. And Chevy was the one who came up with that some kind of like polyamic. It's like this stuff that he put on the dish to make it slide better. Right, and he also puts that on like food additives on like cereal to make them last longer. Yeah. But I like seeing him in the office and the way that he dealt with his boss, because I'm sure a lot of us can agree, you know, with that in some way or another, with having that structure and that hierarchy of these people who kind of follow behind the boss and say and do whatever he wants them to, and then you fit in there somewhere. And then when it's time when you're finally in front of the boss, you kind of don't feel like you have your real chance to shine with him because he's so burnt out by everybody else that he doesn't give you the time of day. Right. The yuppies next door were very funny, but I think that some of those scenes could have been sacrificed.
I agree.
Yeah, now, it was funny when the Rottweiler ran up and jumped on her, and then she came home to her husband, and he's like, you know, what's all the noise about? And she just walks up and clocks him in the face.
Yeah.
And of course when Chevy is talking about where he can fit the tree that he just got, but there are also sometimes that it cuts back to them and it's just either a setup for another joke, like with the shingle or whatever it was, the pole off of his roof sliding through it, hitting them in the window and coming through or whatever, that they just kept going back to them for some point. Chevy Chase injured himself a lot and was so mad because the lights weren't working that he reached off and punched Santa in the face, remember? And when he did in real life, he broke his pinky finger.
Get out of here.
So when he got so mad that and got so frustrated when he started kicking the rest of the reindeer and stuff, it was because it hurt that much.
Oh wow!
Yeah, just another little tidbit, but
another gem, man.
Right. But it's like the whole movie. You just seeing him go from one slapsticky kind of falling on his face, even upstairs when he's hitting the one floorboard that keeps hitting him in the face. You know what I mean? Where it's like only he can do that. But when you get older and when you're watching the movie and those were some things that you kind of laugh at a little bit less each time. But you still appreciate it because that's what he does. He kind of bumbles around, you know. So, you know, I can understand that. One more big thing, and it's partially a gem, but also it was kind of right in our faces. The way that they played with the kids' ages. If you really remember, if you're really a Vacation fan, in the first two movies, Rusty was always older than Audrey. And it wasn't until this one that, for some reason, now Rusty's a child, and Audrey is his older sister who hates putting up with him and everything.
Mm.
So a lot of the real diehard fans were mad about that, in which you would think, you know, hey, that's just them making sure that they pick, you know, fresh kids, fresh talent each time. But to play with something as crazy as the age of the two characters set a lot of people in motion. Like, wait a minute, how can I look at the other two where even though they changed the actors, they at least kept them the same age groups. And now suddenly you've got this thing where, you know, we're just supposed to believe that he went through a time where he got spit out younger than she did. But, you know, that's kind of nitpicking in my book. But, you know, that's one thing that they have to say about that.
I believe in continuity. And I know that's just something that's just personal. Like, it's not like, you can look at a film as, you know, make or break or however you want to take it. But like for me, I never did understand why the kids kept switching to children.
Yeah.
Like, I hated that. Because they would, like you said, they would stay the same, you know, like Chevy and, you know, the young lady, whatever. But the kids would always be different. Like, okay.
Right.
Somebody, you know what I mean? It's Audrey.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the only thing that I gotta say.
It's like, was it a running gag?
You're supposed to just be paying attention to Chevy Chase.
Well, hey,
That's why.
I guess that's what
Oh man. That's so funny and so on point. Last but not least, this little fella right here came and knocked the globe on its axis with his young, earnest that presence in front of the camera and the way that he exuded that confidence. Home Alone was released in 1990, had a budget of $15 million. And believe it or not, has up to this point made $477.1 million. It's the second highest grossing Christmas movie of all time, only outbeat by one that has made up until this point $511 million. Now I'm gonna throw a curve on you all real quick. The movie that beats it out with the 511 was made in 2018. What was that movie? The animated movie, The Grinch.
What?
The last Grinch that just came out. Yes, $511 million.
Maybe that's all due to inflation.
Yeah,
well,
this is why I'm not. This is why I'm not in like economics and like what doesn't make it, or like in the bid. I can't. What?
Wow.
I can't fathom. I
don't know. I would have never guessed that. Like I would have probably said something with like at least live action, like or maybe CGI or something like. I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. Kev, if you will, let the pendulum swing your way. What will you start us off with as far as the pros of Home Alone?
I definitely appreciated the plot. And I guess that's kind of what I've been comparing all three movies to each other. It definitely has a beginning and an ending and a middle and a way that it kind of gets there.
Yes.
Even though this movie is like filled with slapstick, there's definitely a bunch of funny moments in this movie. I appreciated how resourceful Kevin was in the movie.
Oh yeah.
That you'd think he's left home alone.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal, especially someone that young. That's a big deal. But he after he kind of gets over the fun of just being alone and he finally hits home.
Right.
Of course, he's sad for a moment. Then he's got these burglars that are after him, and he doesn't know how deadly they are. They're not that deadly. But how would he know the difference? He is in danger, but he's
true.
But he's really resourceful. He's pretty smart. He's able to think on his feet, and he still loves his family. So I liked all of those things about the movie.
Man, what can I say about this movie? Man, this movie, I think this movie came out in 1990. I thought I could have sworn it was 92, but I think me and him are around the same age, so I think I could be wrong on that, but this movie definitely came. Say it again, Kat?
About.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this movie really was a great movie. I mean, even the beginning, like. I'm sure everybody, spoiler alert, but I'm sure everybody has seen this movie. It's a classic. When just in the beginning of the movie, when you see Joe Pesci like as the cop, you're like, wait, like your first time, like this isn't in the previews. Like I don't get it. And it throws you for a curveball. You know what I mean?
It really did.
Fronting the whole time. Like who does that? Like who does a police officer and goes door to door so you can meet them? That's crazy.
And survey the scene,
It is.
Oh my gosh.
So it's got a little plot twist like that in the beginning. And this kid is, like Kev said, what kid is that resourceful as far as his home? Gonna defend his house? This is my house. I have to defend it.
I have to defend it.
There it is. Like, get out of here. Get out of here, man. But a pro definitely would be just. And I know I keep saying this, but this is probably like for me at that time, probably the most relatable because at that time period. I was a child when I saw that. I was like, I want to do things like that.
Yes, yeah.
But not
That's
knowing really the ramifications.
Yes.
It's a great movie. It definitely is a great movie.
It's one of a kid's biggest wishes not to have their family just disappear. He was a little bit smart, in coming up with a wish like that, but just to have some time to yourself where you can eat your own pizza, you cannot be bullied by your older sibling, where you can kick your feet up, where you can jump on the bed, where you can slide down the stairs, where you can just do whatever you want to do. And I'm sure this has so many kids getting their ankles busted or getting their elbows out of place for sliding down stuff they ain't had no business. I think this one has aged the best out of all three. Once again, like I said, John Hughes wrote it, and then this time he produced it as well. And the guy who
fired.
Yes.
He was on fire.
And you had John Williams on the score.
Rest in peace.
And if ever there's a movie that the music not tells you how to feel, but just carries you from emotion to the next.
I'm glad you said that.
Oh my goodness. But you've got, just to spout a couple of more names out, like I said, like we said, you got Joe Pesci, you got Daniel Stern. And Joe Pesci came out of, I won't say retirement, but he definitely didn't think that he was suited enough for a comedic role. And who would have known that he was like as funny as, as Daniel Stern would be. And also the fact that Daniel Stern didn't even know if he was going to get the role, and it kept getting handed around to him and other people until it finally landed in his lap, I think, after the person that they were going to go with for whatever reason fell out of, the chance of doing it. So we almost didn't even get him being the other one. Now you can see how that kind of launched, his career, at least into the sequel and a couple of things after that.
Right.
But I've seen him like on the internet trying to kind of revive that character and just doing things to let people know that he's still around and still, I'm the one who was with Joe Pesci in those scenes. So that's cool that he's been doing that. Yeah, John Candy playing almost a straight role, where he was the one that the mom rode back home with him and his band in the back of the van and everything. And we've said enough about Macaulay Culkin, but one other thing is that third act, like you said, Kev, is epic. It's almost like a Looney Tunes Acme kind of thing, like cranked up to 15. And the wildest part is it's only like 13 or so minutes of the third act. But I've seen situations where people and their kids will fast forward just to get to the traps and the setups at the end. And it made every movie after that go bigger and bigger and bigger. I saw on YouTube how there was doctors who was sitting down and watching the movie and telling how there's no way that the wet bandits could have lived after this happened to them, or this fell on their head, or they fell down these stairs, or they burned their hands with this, So all in all, it's just a couple of those pros are just hard to beat. What else can you think of, Kev, as far as just throwing some praise on Home Alone?
I don't want to waste our time trying to think of something else. But
okay.
Yeah, I get into some other things later.
I will say now I do remember the Micro Machines though. That was
the
first.
Man, right on them.
Dang, man.
This one I think had the best lesson of all. Not just the importance of family, but absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Oh wow.
And that's not only with Kevin, but it's also with old man Marley. Because if you remember, Kevin talked this grown man into rekindling that fire with his family, with his son and his family.
Yeah.
And so out of the three movies, especially like I said, with one of them not even having a lesson at all, this is one that had those warm, endearing moments. And when you get that final time that Kevin's mom comes home, and I like the way that it was shot, where they're at different sides of the hallway and they're not facing each other, and then she sees him, and you see that look on her face because she knows that he's okay. And then she says his name, and he slowly turns around.
Yeah.
And at first, you think by the way that he looks, and how is Macaulay Culkin old enough to act like this? He looks kind of sad, like, you know, I'm disappointed because y'all left me. Then he smiles with that smile, and she runs up, man. You're talking about a moment right there.
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
John Hughes was on point, man. I mean, like, even like with the execution of everything. I mean, Macaulay Culkin, like you said, he had dynamic, man. I mean, what kid I would have did that. I'd have been like, this the scene where you gonna get happy and sad when you see your mother.
Right.
I couldn't do that.
Ready, action.
Right. And also, like you touched on before, the music. John Williams, the music, the score to it, really, it could have taken you to like emotional points. When he was at the church, you know, talking. And then you know, the choir, you know what I mean? The choir was, you know, up and down. I forgot what that one song was, but it's like a old, you know, like tradition or standard. I don't know, but
right.
And then but the one when, you know, he runs home when the bell, what was it? It was like the church bell rung. He had to run home.
That's right, because he knew he had to get ready.
Yeah, he had to get ready because they was coming. It was just that movie. They murdered that movie. If you sit down and watch the movie and like you critique it, like, you know, you making some points that you're making. Yeah, they did a great job with that movie. They really did.
Certainly did. Kev, start us off with the flip side of this discussion with Home Alone. What's going on?
So, yeah, I mean, it's a comedy. I understand that it's slapstick, and the slapstick, I think, made the movie what it was. That also includes an element of do not try this at home. And so, Peter, when you're talking about, you know, that could have been me, you know, I wanted that toy. I wanted to be that, especially somebody who, like Macaulay is around all of our ages. And so at that time, you know, it's like, do not attempt. So there's things going on in here that you don't want to do. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt somebody else. You're going to get in trouble, especially with the whole booby trapping thing.
Yeah.
It made for a great, funny movie. I mean, you know, the wet bandits are not good guys. So they're getting what's coming to them, but you can't go booby trapping things. And, you know, someone as young as Macaulay was and how young we were at that time, you start seeing yourself in that character. You start thinking you can do those things.
Right.
And it's like, you can't do those things. But again, like, it's a comedy, so that's kind of what happens. But just looking at all the things that happen to the wet bandits, while it's funny, I mean, and I may be mixing up parts of some of the sequels, but I mean, you know, he gets his head lit on fire, he staples his hand. The Daniel Stern gets stapled on the bridge of his nose. It's
and
like,
how about that tarantula?
Yeah,
how about that?
It's some craziness going on here. And yes, it's funny because it's a comedy, but it's like, ooh, I see why it's not rated G. I mean, you know.
Right.
So it's just basically like, you know, do not attempt because you're gonna hurt yourself or somebody else. You're gonna be in trouble. And it was just a fun movie.
One big part about that spider was Daniel Stern was deathly afraid, as am I, of spiders. So they didn't want to show him how large the spider was. And he said, no, don't show me because you'll get my honest reaction. And when he saw that thing, I mean, he could have broke a glass and I would have felt the same way. Oh, man.
That's how the method acting goes. Okay.
Yeah, right.
All right.
When you tell me that somebody else, like you said, the character was being passed around or the part, I can't imagine anybody screaming like who like even in the sequel when he screamed when he was getting shot, you know, down to the basement. To this day, it's like that scream. That can be iconic. You know.
Yeah, you look for it. You really look for it. It's just funny how all of those traps were so Looney Tunes. Yeah. You can picture like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and them doing stuff like this. Frying somebody in their hair and they'll exist and their hair is sticking out, and when they slip on ice and fall and they're falling head over heels, you know.
Hey, yo,
it's a real life cartoon.
Shocked, bro. You saw a skeleton. But it's like, and I hear what Kev's saying, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, we adults now, or like you were saying about Chevy Chase movies, like some of this stuff is like it's slapstick and stuff, but like sometimes it hits you, it takes you back, and you just bawl, like you just start like crying and laughing.
Yes, yeah.
It really is hilarious. I think this movie has stood the test of time. In my
Certainly. Here's a con or two real quick. The whole family out of the three of the movies, this family was like, in some ways, it was terrible. Not only the ways that they treated Kevin, the ways that they looked down at him, the ways that they talked trash to him. This uncle who was like, look what you did, you little jerk, and and one of the cousins or the sister who heard of you, what the French calls les incompetents. And it's and Buzz. Oh my goodness! Man. If you ain't scaring your younger brother, then you're like eating all of his pizza, or you're getting him in trouble. I mean, and it had to show you that the family was, the way that they were, so that he could wish them away, just to miss them. But out of the three families, it's like, oh my gosh. And another thing is, this is one of the only movies that you didn't really see any of the holiday traditions. There was no wrapping gifts, and there was no gift giving, and there was no, things of that nature. To be honest, if you all can remember, I don't think Kevin was even that excited about it being Christmas.
That's probably why we didn't see it. This whole movie is from his point of view. And yeah, I mean, I think that's how it manifested. He doesn't care all that stuff. He finds out through the course of the movie, the hard way, that his family is what's most important, especially in a family so big.
Yes.
That's probably why we don't see any of that stuff, because it's not important to him.
Man. Yeah. You own it, man. I didn't even think. Gosh. Yeah. And like I said before, just the fact of if you know going into it, if you've never seen this movie, but you've heard all about it, the truth is, in some ways, you do have to kind of wait until the third act to get all the things that you've heard so exciting about it. But before that, it was a good tale with old man Marley, and with the family leaving, and with him having all the joy of being by himself, and the whole and things like that. But you really have to wait for that 13 minutes that caused all the other movies after it, and movies of other genres, to copy off of and come up with their own traps and booby traps and things like that. So at least they give you some things to grasp onto before that third act in that 13 minutes, But it is one thing, like I said, sometimes when people watch it, they decide to just fast forward or skip up to that, because it's the biggest payoff that I believe you probably even got that year out of all movies that came out. And anytime other movies are trying to copy it and everything, it definitely kind of built like a yellow brick road for all of them to follow down. So we have all three. Now we have the fun part, and what the audience is all waiting for. How do we put them into perspective? Start off, if you will, Peter, and then we'll go to Kevin, and then we'll go to me, and we'll swing around. How can we kind of put these in first, second, and third?
I don't know. I think once again, Kevin touched on I think yes, you touched on I guess a morale compass, like what came from like a life lesson or learned lesson upon these movies. So if my opinion, they would have to get ordered probably Home Alone, National Lampoons, and Christmas Story.
I thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, because Home Alone had it all. It had it all. It had the score. It had the emotional moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It had like y'all said, a slapstick. It had the Looney Tunes. It just had all the ingredients. It had the little boy acting like an adult when he went to go get the grocery shopping.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like classic ingredient to entertainment. Who doesn't want to see little kids act like it's funny? You know what I mean? It's entertaining. You know what I mean? I mean, it had literally all the ingredients to a great movie.
It had the drama.
and then the drama as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so I gotta go with those three. How ordered, you know, how that's ordered: Home Alone, Chevy Chase, and then Christmas Story. That's me.
What do you feel about that order, Kevin?
I'm
Would
thinking
you
of in
change
terms
anything?
of. I'm thinking in terms of if I had to watch them again. The order that I would want to see them in, I would want to see Home Alone first. Then I'd want to see A Christmas Story, and then I'd leave National Lampoon for last, because of all the things that we've mentioned. I mean, I think for me, mostly like just the plot, and like I appreciate what you mentioned about the score, because I think the score really works with Home Alone better than the other movies, where it's happening throughout, and it is really punctuating those moments to enhance whatever it is that you're feeling. Versus let's stop and listen to this song. But then again, it was fewer songs, I think, where it's a song you're supposed to listen to versus a song that provides a tone for the scene. So that may be why that is, and I like those things. That would be my order. Would be Home Alone 1, A Christmas Story 2, and then National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation 3.
I'm going to agree immediately with Home Alone. I think that we're, ladies and gentlemen, let us know how you feel with these three movies. Let's just go on and put Home Alone in a bag. It's the story is endearing. It's not only warm and heartfelt, but it's also entertaining. It hits the highs and lows. I think out of the three films, as far as acting goes, you can't top Macaulay Culkin. And it's crazy to say about a child at that age, and with, you know, only so many things going on with him in Hollywood around that time, to be able to just take the ball and run. How can you compute? How can you beat that out? Then you had, you know, the character playing his mother. Then you had John Candy. Then you had the Wet Bandits. You know, there's so many colorful things going on around it. So at the end, it's kind of tied with a nice, pretty bow. And from A to Z, I believe that it's the most rewatchable. As you can see, it's made the most money. So we're not the only ones that are thinking that. It was extremely successful. And we do make a point to watch it every single year when it, you know, when it's around this time. Now is the issue with the final two. I've grown up on A Christmas Story, and it has the most nostalgia for me. However, Christmas Vacation for me is the one that I watch, believe it or not, the most out of all three. And going into this, I knew that it wasn't going to beat the Muhammad Ali that is Home Alone. I could have tried to argue until my head turned purple, and it just wasn't going to happen. But if I had to put those two in a bag, I think that I would go with Christmas Vacation be in second place, because those elements, those different comedic skits that are structured the way that they are, continue to build and build and build, and before you end, you've got squirrels jumping out of trees, you've got Rottweilers jumping on women, you've got Chevy Chase's boss wrapped with a bow on him and delivered to his house. You've got the uncle, Chevy Chase's uncle, caught on fire. You've got the tree on fire. You've got a cat electrocuted. You've got Eddie and all of his mischief with him tearing up things on the table. You've got the tree that explodes. I mean, the turkey that explodes on you know, right while they're getting ready to cut it. It's just so many different things that every time we watch it, you know, we're waiting to see the next. And while a Christmas Story is the perfect storytelling method, sometimes the highs are so high, but we grew up off of it. So it's not like it's, you know, it's not just volumes above, but, you know. Did you say, Peter, that you would put A Christmas Story at second place and Vacation at third?
I said, yeah, that was Kev. I think that
Okay.
I ordered them Home Alone, Chevy Chase, and then Christmas Story.
Okay.
Yeah. That's just me. That's just a personal, that's just me personally, because that's the way I just, that's just me. That's my personal opinion about the movie. That's it.
Kev, is the difference in the two that far, or like how far is the gap between B and C?
I think I would probably leave it as it is. I mean, again, I haven't seen most of these movies in a while, so I'd have to watch them all three like at around the same time to get a better sense. But based on what I know, but what I do remember, I mean, I think the rating I have is where it's at. Like I said, I had mentioned the things that I like about all of them. I mean, they're all funny.
Oh, certainly.
And I think you can, even though I was the one talking about why this movie and that movie wouldn't be done today. I mean, it's not like I wouldn't watch it.
Right.
So there were things to enjoy in all of them. But that's my preference.
So it sounds like we've got on one side, we've got Home Alone. It sounds like on one side we're going with Christmas Vacation and then Christmas Story. And on the other side, we're going with a Christmas Story and then Christmas Vacation. Either way, they're definitely a cut above all the rest under them. And I mean, we could make video upon video about all the other ones that would round out like a top 10 list, as far as which one do I want to put in while I'm wrapping these gifts, or while we're getting ready to cut this bird, or while we're getting ready to have the family come over. Our list isn't necessarily the right one. I'm sure you all watching may have your own. Let us know in the comment section what you feel about how you would put the order of these three films. Please continue to watch us and to have a good time. Hit us up with a subscription. If you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Hit us with the thumbs up, if you will, and let us know what you thought about what we feel about these three films. All right, I just wanted to pause for a second because I think, did we lose Peter?
Can you see me?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, you were there the whole time.
Wait,
yeah. He was only on for like a second.
Yeah, my low battery indication came up. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, okay. No, well, we stopped at a place that we can go where we can do whatever from there.
Okay.
Yeah. So what? I guess here's a chance to put our heads together. How do we want to go from here?
I'm gonna turn my tree on.
Okay.
I mean, we do what we want.
Oh, that's tight. Why you acting up, Kim?
Actually, it's There we go. Yeah, we're good.
Oh, that's tight.
Full Christmas. So how we gonna sign this off?
Yeah, that's a good question. Wait a minute, 1 second.
You're fine. With your Christmas gear, because I was like, let me put on some red. That's about it.
You guys gonna force me to go shopping and internet shopping?
Be safe.
Christmas. Yeah, ugly Christmas sweaters.
Be safe.
I guess I gotta take the hat back off for continuity, right? They're like, wait a minute, what
I got
happened?
these lights on, so whatever.
Oh yeah, well, let's go on and make it goofy. Why not?
Don't even worry about it, man.
Right.
Why is this tree on now? So
They're like, wait a minute, was it lit the whole time? Rewind it.
No, it wasn't.
Right. But so I mean, we can keep it like this, like it is now, with we're just undecided, you know what I'm saying, and let that be just the way that it is.
That's fine.
And leave it up to them to figure, where to go from there. But at least we chopped it up and saw the good about it and the not so good, and kind of put it into some sort of order,
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a good pick, by the way. Those three movies.
Oh yeah. That was I'm gonna
cause...
say again once we get started. That was actually my brother-in-law's idea.
Oh, good. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, there's a ton. We all know there's a ton of movies out there that are Christmas, related, but you may not have seen those. But these three that in particular, I mean, they are, like I said, in my opinion, they're classics. You know, I mean, they've been around and you've seen them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You may not have seen Elf, or you may not even seen the Grinch with Jim Carrey in it, but you've
Right.
seen, you know, A Christmas Story and, you know, Home Alone and, you know, Chevy Chase joint. So good pick. Good pick.
Yes.
Chances are. chances are you've seen those. That's what it is.
Exactly.
More.
Exactly. So that's pretty much the gist of it, everybody. We've had more fun than a little bit chopping these up, and you guys, I hope that you all enjoy your holidays out there. Let us know what you think in the comments. How would you structure this list? All of these, as we've been saying, are a tradition. You put these on when you're wrapping your presents, when you're carving the bird, when you've got family over, or when you just want to get into the right spirit. So let us know what you thought. Until then, I'm Javon.
I'm Peter.
I'm Kevin.
I'm sorry. I thought Ken was gonna go. I thought Ken was gonna go.
Hey, Ken, we gotta chop this up like the bloopers.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have it when I sing the video. Can we do it one more time, please?
Okay. All right.
sorry about that. I had it on mute, so yeah.
That's fine.
One more time, please.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, right. So you all, we've had just as much fun as you have, I hope, listening to this and trying to figure what's first place, second place, and third place. Let us know in the comments what you think about these three, how you feel about them. Until then, I'm Javon.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Peter.
And this is We Saw That. Happy
Merry
holidays,
Christmas.
everybody. Peace. All right.
All right.